Are you ready to install your destiny? Get ready for Swerve, the mind-bending, world-ending non-game, now on the Game Bro and Game Bro Advance. Load it up, connect with your party with link cable, and experience the most dangerous co-op session you'll never actually play. Swerve is playable. You can play it. Swerve, the game that's already here. Available now for Game Bro and Game Bro Advance. This product does not reveal about conflict, pressure-induced diarrhea, alcoholism, public time distortion, depersonalization, violence, death, induced depression. Buy now.
Before we jump into it, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Hello, and welcome back to the Dreambubble Spacecast. Today, I would like to introduce somebody that is very special to me. I know you as Rainy. I don't know how to pronounce your username.
So, yeah, my username is VisionaryParacosmos, but I also go by Rainy. I use he and they pronouns.
All right. So, fun fact about me. I went and I rated Area 51. Can you share us maybe a little fun fact about yourself?
Oh gosh, what is a fun fact about myself?
It can be Homestuck related.
I am incredibly obsessed with Auspisticism.
This is true. Well then from that point, I guess we could jump into it. Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like first jumping into Homestuck?
Yeah, so when I first heard of Homestuck, it was through my first girlfriend in 2013.
Okay.
We had just started dating, and a mutual friend of ours was like asking me where she was, but he phrased it as, "Where's your mate sprit?" And I was like, "Mate sprit? What's a mate sprit?"
Oh. You started with the quadrants? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so my group of friends ended up spending an entire morning, like, explaining quadrants to me, and then also explaining the zodiac and, like, how the hemospectrum works. And then I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. I want to look deeper into this. And so I tried reading it, got really confused, stopped reading it, tried reading it again, got a little further, stopped reading it, and then it finally stuck when I tried reading it the third time.
And were these just friends that you knew, like, at your high school?
Yeah. These were my sweet little fandom friend group in high school.
So when did things kind of transition online?
So I read Homestuck starting in late 2013, early 2014. It was pretty soon after that, moved into Tumblr specifically. I very clearly remember I specifically made a Tumblr account because I wanted to read more meta posts by Bladekind Eyewear on Tumblr. Yeah. I was like, I really loved the idea of class specting, so I was like, looking at some class specting posts here and there, looking at like actual, like, here's what's happening in the comic meta posts into that. So I made a Tumblr. And that was my first foray really into fandom. Like, I had read fan fiction before, but I hadn't really engaged with any fandoms.
I see. Were you talking to people on Tumblr when you first joined about all of this? Like, you were getting into arguments about Is that how it happened?
I don't know if I would say I got into arguments on Tumblr when I first got into fandom.
Not at the beginning.
But I did make some friends pretty fast. Like, I would say I was definitely in the Homestuck kin side of Tumblr pretty early on.
Can I ask more about that?
Yeah, of course. Anything specific?
Well, so what does that mean? What does it mean to be a Homestuck kin?
Yeah, so essentially, fiction kin is like people who identify as either a fictional species or a fictional character. And there's like a big umbrella of like terms related to fiction kin. Like there's like synpath is a term that I've seen used where it's, don't ask me for like the specific definitions, but it's like similar to fiction kin but slightly different. But basically fiction kin is like, for Homestuck specifically, at the time that I was getting into it, a lot of the people I was like seeing and engaging with were very much of the opinion of like, okay, we are people who more or less have memories of being these fictional characters, whether they believe it's, you know, something where your brain is just really good at coming up with fake memories, or whether they believe it was like a reincarnation thing, you know, the dream bubbles. There's a lot of room there for alternate selves, and if you believe in reincarnation, then it stands to reason that you could have been one of these characters from this other reality and then just transitioned into this reality. So that was something that I was seeing a bit of at the time.
I can see how that happens with Homestuck, because it feels very Homestuck meta in a way, because they transition the god tiering and like all of that. What were the people like?
Yeah, I'm still friends with like one or two of these people. I am gonna say like those people are great. I love them. They're very dear to me.
Mm-hmm.
One of them doesn't really engage with Homestuck anymore, which is sad, but that's his prerogative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, there was occasionally bad actors who saw that there was, you know, here's this group of predominantly children at the time are very much looking to engage with others, looking to make friends, there was this idea that you could find your Dave or your John being in the Homestuck kin community. We all know, like, people talk about child groomers on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for a lot of people who are like talking about this is some mythical straw man who may not actually exist. But there were examples of this in this particular community.
Okay.
Like, I would say that's more the exception than the rule. Like, there was these one or two bad actors who would hit like 5 or 6 people in the community and then just duck out and you'd never hear from them again. But then you'd also have these people who are like, you know, very serious about their beliefs, who are very like in tune with like spirituality, are there to make a genuine connection with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was more or less what I was seeking out of the community at the time, both in the fandom and in like the Homestuck kin side of things.
Okay. So how did you meet your people? You were just posting on Tumblr, you said, and then you kind of came across it?
Yeah, so I don't actually remember how I came across Fictionkin specifically, but I did fall into the fandom mostly by, I followed a few Homestuck blogs and then would follow other blogs based on like who's reblogging from who, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit vague, because, mind you, this was over a decade ago.
Oh,
now.
for sure. Yeah, like, whatever you remember is good enough.
So, I had my first Homestuck cosplay in the fall of 2014. It was actually Halloween. I dressed up as Kana Kree. It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of fun. I think some people thought I was like a Star Trek character.
What? The vest, maybe? Because it's like the red and the... That's not a vest, it's a sweater.
You know?
Did your pants go up all the way up your chest?
No, they didn't go that high, unfortunately. I am a fan of high-waisted pants, though.
Oh, so real. When you were in the Fictionkin side of things, who did you go? Like, who were you? Were you participating?
For that, I'm going to leave it a little bit vague,
okay,
because I don't necessarily identify as the particular character that I was identifying as anymore.
Okay.
I think my experiences definitely leaned more towards, like I mentioned synpaths earlier.
Mm-hmm.
There's this sort of distinction between identifying as versus identifying with. At least that's how I've seen some people conceptualize it.
Okay.
You know, some people literally know I am this character versus some people are like, well, I just really relate to this character. What I think I was experiencing at the time was more of the, I just really relate to these characters. I'm gonna leave it a bit vague because I don't want anyone to be like, hey, you said you're a such and such Kinney. That's not really accurate to me today.
Like people using it against you in arguments, is that a thing that people do?
I mean, I've definitely seen people who were like, for example, a Tavris kin, who would put, hey, don't follow me if you're a Vriska kin. So I've seen that kind of thing. I don't know if I've seen an actual argument of, well, you're this kin, so you're totally irredeemable.
I wonder where I fall in this, because some of the things that you've mentioned so far kind of make me go, oh, is that what I've been doing? Because I've joked about it. I remember back on Instagram in 2020, there used to be these really popular accounts that would do, like, the character memes. Specifically, they would do the class spect. So they would be like, oh, all Hope players, and they'll do different memes in it. And they were so funny, they were really well thought out, and they were really good. Every time, like, a Prince meme would pop up, or a Hope meme would pop up, I'd go, ah, that's me. And I'd go, wait, I'm not ready for this, because I loved Aridin. And, like, he was great, and I was drawing him all the time, but I wasn't ready to really be like, oh, he's me. You know, I'm Aridin, what the heck? Like, this kept happening, and then I started joking about it on, like, my Instagram stories, and I was like, haha, like, what if I was Aridin? Or, haha, like, these parallels are starting to make me uncomfortable. And I kind of just, like, settled into that, and I joked, yeah, again, like I said, I joked about it being, like, a kin thing, but when you said that some people believe that they're, like, a reincarnation of these characters, and if you're, like, you know, you're spiritual and things like that, you kind of like, oh, I see where that comes from. And I've thought about it, and I'm like, you know what would be a really cool concept is if all of the trolls in Homestuck, and Homestuck's not done yet, like, what if at the end it's going to turn into a meta, like, actually, we are the universe that they created, and, like, we are reincarnated, like, I became the 3rd generation Ampera, like, you know, I've had those thoughts, I've had those, like, what if I was crazy?
Definitely people who have these same kinds of experiences. I will tell you that much.
Wow. Okay, let's go through this then, assuming that I am a, well, quote-unquote, Aridin kin. And it's kind of funny, you know, Aridin, welcome everyone to the Dreambubble Spacecast. Tell me about some of your favorite experiences from that time, like, interacting with each other, trying, like you said, finding your characters or the other characters that you were looking for. Do you remember anything from that was fun?
Yeah, so one of my friends who I still talk to now was sort of my insert character here. Because I also don't want to put him on blast either.
No, I got you.
When you're fiction kin, if you're, especially with Homestuck where there's like very divergent timelines, right? Your timeline can be incredibly unique to you. And so when you sort of talk to people about like, hey, what are your memories? Do they line up with mine? There's some stuff that you're going to keep private to yourself that no one else is going to know so that you can use that to sort of verify. Are they legit? Are they just saying whatever sounds right so they can be your friend, right? Like, that was like, I don't want to say it was common, but it was something that was relevant at the time.
Okay.
My friend and I both had these elements of here's what we're keeping to ourselves versus here's what we're telling other people, verify things. And we both had those elements where it's like, oh, no, we just mesh. We fit together. And whether that was, you know, the human mind creating memories, whether there actually was a spiritual like connection between our souls, either way, it meant that we were two very like-minded people who got along phenomenally. This person would go on to be my Moirail for a bit. I would still say we're like very, very close friends. I think just a lot of my experiences with this particular person was some of my best experience on the internet ever. I've actually had the opportunity to meet this person face to face, and I've met a few friends from the internet in person before, sometimes you don't really mesh as well when you meet each other face to face. But like with this friend, we did mesh. And I'm on record as saying that Homestuck kin are some of my favorite people to interact with. I'll probably say that again in the future too. But it's true. Homestuck kin are some of my favorite people to interact with.
And it's just because they're genuine, or it's just because it's a, like, where do you think that comes from?
I think there is something about being genuine. Because, like, you've got Homestuck, which some people might consider cringe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're adding being fiction kin on top of it, which is like, some people consider that cringe, right? Even within like the other kin community, some people consider it cringe. So you've got, cringe on top of cringe, which cringe is some of the most sincere form of vulnerability, right? And so you take that vulnerability, and when you present that to someone else, it's like saying, here's a piece of my heart. Please be gentle with it. And when someone actually takes that and is gentle with it, that's where the magic is.
That is really sweet. I'm like, oh, it makes me think back to like all of the people that I met in Homestuck. And this is something like you said, it's so well known to be cringe. It's so well known to be like, oh god, the fucking Homestucks are horrible. Like, oh my god, these guys are crazy. Like, look what they're doing at these conventions. And I used to be like, you guys are just, like, why do you care that other people are happy? But it's because it is so genuine, and it's just pure, like, love. What a sweet thing, Who gives a shit if it's cringe nowadays? Cringe culture's supposed to be dead. I don't know where we are with that right now. But Homestuck opens you up to being, like, your authentic self in a way that I don't think a lot of other properties are, at least nothing that I've found.
It's very much a dual-sided thing, because you have the fun, you have the vulnerability, you have the heart-to-heart amazing experiences. And then you also have judgmental people who will, tell you, hey, actually, being in Homestuck, that makes you an awful person. That makes you a bad person. People who moralize it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a period of time, somewhere between 2016 and 2018, fell in with this, I'm going to call them a high control group. They were not a cult, but to compare them to one wouldn't be unreasonable. And they were very much of the opinion that, the media you're into is a moral reflection of you as a person. Let me just tell you, they did not have positive views on Homestuck.
Wow. What did they say was wrong with it?
Oh gosh, everything. Gratuitous use of the R word, the Caucasian joke, Andrew Hussey being, at the time, out as a straight cisgender white guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably other things, silly things. So, not just like things that are like genuine, like, okay, there's room to make a critique about how Homestuck presented the characters as, air quote, aracial, but still textually treated them as white characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's room for critique about that.
Absolutely.
However, these people were just like, oh no, this is just racist, plain and simple, no nuance to the conversation at all. Mind you, again, this was a while ago, so some of the details are fuzzy.
No worries.
But like, this group was very much founded on like control, right? Now this might be a bit touchy because it does get into some of this whole fandom shipping discourse a little bit.
Okay.
Because the group was very much strongly like anti-aligned.
Okay. And
had this idea that if you were problematic at all, you're out of the group. They're going to block you. They're going to put you on blast, call out culture, the whole 9 yards.
Okay. For me, real quick, can I ask, because I hear it a lot, so what does it mean to be like an anti? Like,
oh God. So if you ask different people this, they're going to give you a billion different answers. I actually, because I knew I'd be talking about this, I actually watched a video recently by Sarah Z, the same one who did like those Homestuck videos.
Yes.
and she had a really good video about like the shipping wars. And her video very much laid out very, very well how what being an anti is so amorphous, because different people have different lines for what they consider problematic, what they consider morally wrong. I definitely recommend people go watch that video, because it's going to be way more nuanced than I can be about this topic.
Okay.
The way I tend to think about all of this from my personal experiences is that it has to do with control, at least from the group I was in, right?
Okay.
I don't want to say manipulate, but like it kind of is manipulate and control. So the B is behavior. They control your behavior. You can't reblog from the wrong people or reblog problematic things, you know, whether that's Steven Universe or, because, you know, there was a huge thing about that at one point. Whether it's, you know, whatever innocuous material they think is problematic. If you reblog it or reblog from someone who reblogged it, you're instantly bad. They very much encouraged blocking people very strongly, which it's not bad on its own. I very much still believe that blocking people just because they're annoying is fine. And
Oh, sure.
like,
Yeah.
very much encouraged. But the way that these people were doing it was to say, hey, you can't even engage with people with the slightest difference of belief from you. They were like, yeah, cut them off immediately. That was sort of how they kept us in line to some extent.
Okay.
There's also the I in bite is information. They very much encouraged us to monitor each other in this regard, right? So like you have the behavior, which is don't reblog from the wrong people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the information is like, we are encouraged to watch each other like a hawk and like monitor each other to make sure we don't reblog from the wrong people. Yeah. Like some of these people would even like comb through the likes on posts to make sure both that none of us were liking these horrible posts, and also to add people to what they called the blacklist.
I've seen one of these.
Which-
I'm in one of these. I'm in a lot of these.
Awful. It's awful. Like there was this Discord server for this group, right?
Uh-huh.
And they had one channel dedicated as a blacklist where you could input someone's URL and then put a reason for why they should be blacklisted. And it could be anything from literally anything as simple from like liking Lil Nas X to, you know, liking Homestuck or someone who's a genuine predator, right? They made no distinction between people who just like a piece of media you don't versus someone who's actively harming other people.
No way.
Yeah.
And people just went with that. Like, how big was this group?
I wouldn't say it was huge. It was mostly headed by this one woman and her girlfriend. And there was like, I'm going to say like maybe 10 people in the group, but it varied a bit depending on like when it was.
This spawns so many questions. I mean, you can take it from any angle you want.
So the T in bite, the bite model, is thought. They were definitely suppressing critical thinking by encouraging us to ignore nuance and to think in all black and white. You know, I told you they were antis. They had this very us versus them, antis versus pro shippers. There was also, some of them had very strong identities as being ace exclusionists, even though half of the group was on the asexual spectrum, including myself. So it kind of came off as like a self-hate thing.
What? Okay.
Like I said, there was this idea of us being morally pure versus everyone else being cancelable, problematic people.
Mm-hmm.
Even if even if you tried to say you didn't engage in shipping drama or what have you, if you weren't an anti, if you refused to choose a side, that instantly meant you were a pro shipper. It instantly meant you were on the wrong side.
I've seen that. Like you said, it's that black and white thinking.
And then E in bite, emotional. Now, this one is a bit weird because I have a very clear example, and I'm going to try and keep it a little vague. I know I keep saying I'm leaving stuff vague. I hope it's not too vague.
No, you're
but
good.
I'm leaving it vague for privacy of the other people who were involved. So there was a situation where someone came out with sexual assault allegations towards a minor celebrity. This person was, according to the person's girlfriend, in a active psychotic episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, to me, that means, you know, there's a possibility that these claims, which don't have any evidence to support them, mind you, might not be the most credible, simply because, hey, this person is in an active psychotic episode, wasn't making these claims beforehand, didn't proceed to make them after either, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the group leader from the group I was in, when I brought this up, saying, hey, maybe we should wait a bit till this person isn't in active psychosis before saying anyone who likes this artist is inherently a bad person. That leader came into my DMs and was like, I can't believe you would do this to me. I can't believe this. You know, I'm also psychotic. I can't believe you would say you can't ever believe psychotic people ever, even though that's not what I was saying. But it was a very emotional thing for that person, too, because they also had some shared identities with the person who was making the claims, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for her, this wasn't just, okay, here's a factual situation. This is just my rational decision based on the information at hand. It was emotionally driven. Because it was emotionally driven, when she saw, you know, someone else saying, hey, let's, you know, have some nuance, she lashed out, used this same emotional argument to try to control me, because she turned it from something that was totally removed from us and made it into being about us. And granted, there was a little bit of the whole suppressing critical thinking mixed in there too, but like, this model is very much like some of these overlap and aren't clearly cut distinctly from each other, but I find it to be a helpful model for organizing my thinking about what was happening when I was in that group.
And you said it was BITE. So B for behavior, I for information, it was T for thought, and then E for emotional. I really like that.
I didn't come up with it.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, but it works so well, you know? And you explained it in a way that, I mean, it was literally what was happening. You compared these kind of groups to a cult, and yeah, that's going to be a whole other thing, but they use these tactics to keep people in line. And you mentioned there was like these two women at the top of the group. So how old were they? Like,
I think one of them, the older was like 25, the younger was like 22.
Oh, okay.
Which, like, saying that now, you know, I'm 25, so it's like, I know I wouldn't be doing that.
You would have had to have been really young at the time, right? Like, probably like 17?
I was about 16, 17.
Yep.
I was very lucky to get out of that group because the woman and her girlfriend had like a big fight and basically deleted the Discord server for it. And that was like the main way that they were, you know, controlling everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was their sort of central point. And so when it was gone, I was just like, well, I'm not enjoying being with these people. I'm not going to go out of my way to try and get back in contact with every single one of them.
So what kind of things did they have you guys do? So they, like, they would make everybody, whenever anybody was like kicked out of the server, they'd just make everybody block that person and be like, look at all this stuff that we have on them. Look at all these like awful things. So you need to block them. And do you think the people that would fall for this were doing it in a way to protect themselves? Or was this just like, this is just how everybody acted?
I definitely think there was an element of, for example, I was a very sheltered kid growing up, you know, young LGBT kid on the internet, right? Clearly looking for connection with other people. And you're an older adult who, you know, she sort of framed herself as like the group mom, right? She wanted to have that control over someone and saw a vulnerable person in front of her. You know, maybe it wasn't intentional. Maybe she just accidentally manipulated a whole group of people. I don't know.
A little bit too much grace there, I think, but
she saw vulnerable kids and said, I want to be in charge. You know, she framed it as protecting kids, but the way she went about it wasn't helpful. Like, I have a very clear memory of, there was one kid who was in the group who was younger than me even. And this kid had apparently shared enough information with the group, or at least the group leader, such that at one point the kid had mentioned, you know, oh, my parents are abusive and they don't know I'm LGBT, and if I tell them I'm LGBT, they're going to kick me out. And so the group leader took that to be a good reason to report the child's parents to Child Protective Services, and essentially that outed the child to the parent.
No.
That led to the child being outed. I think there might have been a little bit more where maybe the parents had gotten on the child's like Discord. I might be mixing up the details with another situation, but essentially, because this person wanted to have influence and exert control over this child, this kid got outed to parents who were not accepting. And mind you, I don't know where this kid is now. You know, the Discord exploded. I wiped my hands of it because I was like, you know what? I'm miserable. These people are miserable. I'm anxious all the time. If it sucks.
I mean, how can you claim to care about a kid and not have the optics to understand what actually happens when you fucking call CPS on somebody? It's so, to me, contradictory. Like you said, like, they have this, like, iron fist over this group of kids. Like, and I'll argue that I think it's probably the same, like what you said, it's because they want to have power over somebody, they need to have control over someone, because they probably don't have a lot of control in their own lives, you know? Like, they feel very, pathetic, insecure, you know, all of these things. First of all, like, you're bullying these, like, how are you gonna, I'm imagining that some of the people that were outed in that group were also minors, right?
Oh, yeah.
So where's the compassion there that a minor, like, what the fuck?
Like I said, it was wild. A lot of times it didn't make sense because I was a kid. I was trying to, like, part of it was, this was a group of other LGBT people who claimed to care about children and wanted to have a safe space for them. And so I thought, oh, then this is going to be a safe space for kids. And so in that sort of naiveness, I slipped in with a group that wasn't making fandom more fun for people and was actively encouraging me to give up parts of fandom that I found most enjoyable. Homestuck. So
these groups had different rules and different, like,
yeah.
lines that they drew. Like, you're mentioning a group that those guys didn't like Homestuck, but there are these groups that are in the Homestuck fandom too, and they have these, just like you described, they have these lists. They have these, like, I remember when I first joined Blue Sky, I jumped into a Discord server right away. I don't usually do that. Like, I don't know where the people are at, but I was like, oh, somebody sent a link, I'll go check it out. I jumped in, and you know, I was one of the first people in there, and I'm introducing myself, like, we're chatting, and I'm like, things at that point seem fine. But it's funny because I'm just doing my own thing. I'm following people on Blue Sky. I'm making posts, you know, I'm kind of getting a feel for the area. I get a message. Well, first they add me and then they message me right away. It was the group leader and goes, like, oh, I noticed that you followed this artist and here I took a screenshot of what this person is posting and why it's wrong. And it's funny because they'll put it behind a spoiler, but they screenshotted it to show me a thing, and it's like, well, like, you have that on your phone, buddy. Like, what? He starts demanding that, like, yeah, this is where I draw the line. Like, these kind of people, like, I'm really into, like, non-con, I'm really into this and that, but I don't want nothing to do with, I don't know, like, it was so strange to me, because I was like, this is, like, I feel like what you guys were promoting at the server was kind of worse, in my opinion, and I feel like I'm pretty vanilla. I don't know. So it's like, I was kind of like, alright, you know what? Like, thank you for letting me know. I didn't see this post. I don't stalk all of the people that I follow in every single post that they've ever made.
And it is stalking. It is absolutely stalking.
It's weird. It is very uncomfortable. It's like, this is just me kind of like, I hopped in, I was like, oh, cool, let's have a fun time. I had no context for any of this other shit that you're talking to me about. I just was thrown into it, and immediately, yeah, they're like, yeah, you need to unfollow this person, and like, over here, we everything is okay except for this, and this, and I imagine the worst things you could imagine, you know. And it's just like, oh, okay, like, thank you for letting me know, and I was like, I'm, you know, if this is what you guys are all about, I'm out, you know. And it's funny, because then I get another message from somebody else, because I left the server, and they're like, yeah, so this guy's, like, really blowing up about you, that you're excusing this, but, like, I think I agree with you, because, like, this, and I just think this behavior is really weird, and he's like, if you wanted to make a Discord server, and I was like, oh, no, like, I'm not interested. But I imagine that that's how that goes too, is like they come together, they explode, and they come into different parts, and then they make group chats, and then their group chats are like different things, and then they fucking probably have the same behavior. Very strange, very just chronically online in a way. But yeah, I don't know, it's weird that they can excuse a lot of what they do, and the way that they do it is they come up with this like holier than thou, like this is, it's not that different from what they used to do with like religion. You know, like these churches, and they're like fucking the non-believers or fucking sinners. Like, this is, you guys are just doing the same thing. You just don't realize it.
There's even a difference between someone saying, hey, I don't want, you know, XYZ content in my server. Just saying that is fine, right?
Oh, sure.
Like, I'm in a bunch of servers that are like, hey, don't post pedophilia, rape, incest in our server.
Yeah, sure.
That makes sense. Plenty of people have that boundary. And then there's a difference between that and saying, hey, if you are a person who engages in this kink between consenting adults, you're an irredeemably awful person inherently, and it means you encourage this stuff in reality outside of totally consenting adult spaces, right?
Yeah. This guy over here, this is kind of that example, sorry, Elle gave, was like, did you know that this guy over here is into consenting sex? Oh my god! Like, they're having consensual sex! I don't know. But it's funny.
God. I may not personally be into these kinds of things, and I do in fact tend to prefer to stick to, I'm not going to say anti-spaces, because that's inaccurate. I do tend to stick to spaces where it's like, hey, we're not encouraging these kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do.
But you're just as bad in their eyes, though. Is like, if you don't do it the way that they do it, then you're the evil person, no matter what.
If I don't make a moral high ground kind of claim to it, then I'm just as bad. If I don't pick a side, I'm just as bad. No nuance. And I will say, I do prefer spaces that are totally removed from this shipping discourse. I like finding my little niche area, my little cozy corner of fandom, and sort of making my friends and just chilling.
Absolutely, that's what I do. All this talk is just so funny to me from an outsider perspective, you know, because I'm the cringest of cringe. I'm the fucking Aridin Emperor, Kenny. I'm over here. I'm drawing Aridin. And Aridin's irredeemable. 13-year-old. He's irredeemable. Oh, he's never gonna grow. And if he grows, then I don't know. Then it's like, well, if you're your interpretation of him doesn't match my idea of him, then that's also bad, even if it's good.
Don't you know, Eridan Ampora and Feferi Pixes are just so irredeemable at age 13. It's not like they're 13-year-old.
Oh my god. I am lucky there was that time period on the internet, like when I was 13, that stuff didn't get archived. Gone. and, you know, salute. God bless. We're out of there. But I think that's the thing that bothers me the most about this stuff, because I want to talk about, like, what is the real harm? You know, I want to figure out what the, like, if these things that are allegedly harming people, if that's actual, like, let's find out a solution, like, together, like how, what had happened, how do we prevent it from happening again, and, like, the people who actually have gone through the, like, awful things, like, how do we make them feel human, you know? Like, I feel like there's this, like, trend of, like, when people are hurting, nobody knows what the fuck to do. Like, you fucking scream at each other about trauma dumping. People can't be cringe without being kicked out of their friend groups. Like, there's no room to grow in that scenario. You know what I mean?
And yeah, this is just my advice here, right? If you feel anxious around your friend group all the time, get the fuck out. If you feel miserable hanging out with your friends and they're telling you not to do the stuff that you think is fun and that doesn't hurt anyone, get the fuck out. To leave these friend groups, you have, for a lot of people, they think it's their only option, right? Like, that's why they stay in these groups. They think they're reliant on these groups. So to break out, you have to keep making friends in different circles. You know, not one friend group has to share all your interests, right? You can have your Homestuck friend group. You can have your Pokemon friend group. You can have your arts and crafts friend group. You can have your D&D friend group. They don't all have to overlap. And that's part of building a support system, right?
Yeah.
It's the same concept of, you know, to get out of an abusive situation, you need to have a support system. To get out of toxic internet friend groups, you need to have healthier internet friend groups. I really feel like the sort of bottom line of it all is that, like, fandom should be fun and about making friends, right? I've watched your other episodes. I've seen some of the stuff that Metastasis and Corey mentioned. I don't think fandom should be about popularity, about clout, about having the moral high ground, right?
No keys.
It should be about having fun and making friends and treating people like people. Everyone is a person, right? Internet etiquette 101. The person on the other side of the computer is also a person.
Yeah.
And here's why everyone else needs to go through internet etiquette 101 again.
You need to find yourself, and you can't find yourself in other people. Like, maybe in, like, you know, like in a love sense, like you learn to love other people, little aspects of them that you share, you know, like you were saying. You need to learn your triggers, your things that, you know, like if you're going through the world and you're getting triggered all the time, like, where does that stem from? It's important to have that skill and to learn how to identify those things, because it's only when you have the tools to be able to do that you can feel comfortable navigating the world without authority over you all of the time. Because I just feel like a lot of this is people just not knowing how to, like, what to do with themselves. I feel like everyone's so lost.
And we came here to talk about Homestuck.
Homestuck is so wonderful.
No, I agree. Even when I was in this group, I would still, and granted, I would feel so guilty about it at the time, but I would still read Homestuck fanfiction. And I would feel so guilty about reading Homestuck fanfiction, but it's like, it's just fanfiction. It's not hurting anyone. It was a time, and I'm so glad I got out of it, because when I got out of it, I could slowly return to Homestuck.
So what did that look like when you were returning to Homestuck?
So I didn't immediately just hop back into fandom, though I did still, you know, I was reading fanfiction, I was watching YouTube videos. I didn't have another Tumblr blog dedicated to Homestuck until late 2023. So relatively recently.
Oh.
Or was it late 2023? It might have been summer 2023, actually, because I had started reading Homestuck with a friend because the friend was really into Kingdom Hearts and he was showing me a lot of Kingdom Hearts stuff, and I kept comparing it to Homestuck. So he was like, okay, just show me this thing. And we ended up reading about half of Homestuck together before losing steam.
That's so fair.
That was when I was like, you know what, I just need to make a Homestuck blog again. And it really genuinely felt like I was coming home. As silly as it feels to say that, it genuinely, Homestuck was my first real fandom. And so that's what fandom is to me. I mean, it looks different now, mind you. It's not like what it was in 2013. It's still there, and I appreciate it for what it is. Let's see, what was there that I did? I made a side blog because I was still slightly worried that someone would judge me for it. I even had a friend say, oh, that's your secret Homestuck side blog. And then I was like, you know what? This is silly. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's still a side blog just because I like it for organizational purposes. But if someone asked me, are you into Homestuck? I wouldn't, try and downplay it.
Nice.
So, yeah. Now I'm just relaxed about it. I get to be a Homestuck at peace.
So, since jumping back into it, what has the fandom been like for you? How does the fandom look right now?
I feel like there's a lot of people who say Homestuck's like a dying fandom. I feel like I've found that for me, it's roughly the same in terms of how much I'm engaging with other people. I've always very much been the kind of person of I'm gonna find my niche, I'm gonna find my people, I'm gonna find my corner. I'm just gonna sort of stick to my corner. I'll make friends. I'm not against making new friends. In fact, I try to make new friends because that's sort of my main purpose, is to make genuine connections with people online, right? And essentially, it's I've got these connections, and it really all comes down to having fun. I'm trying to think of a fancy way to say it, but it really is about having fun. Doing little art trades with my friends and doing role play and coming up with new creative things to do. And also just exploring the fandom. That's something I like to do. Back when I was more interested in exploring, the fiction kin side of things. But then now I'm trying to explore, there's this entire side of the fandom I was unaware of, aside from, the really popular stuff. Back in 2013, 2014, the Homestuck fan song, fan parody side of the fandom, right?
The Baby Is You.
I knew of The Baby Is You. I knew of Kirkalicious. I knew the big
Broadway
the big
stuff.
hit. But there is so many Homestuck fan parodies out there. Literally thousands. That is not an exaggeration. Thousands. There's this person on Tumblr, Homestuck Vocals, has this, it's titled as the Lotus Time Capsule, but it's just an archive of thousands and thousands of Homestuck fan songs.
Oh, I'm so glad somebody kept that.
And it's not complete from what I can tell. There's still some stuff where it's hey, we don't have this song. We don't have that song. And so it's not perfect, right? But it is a lot. And I've personally been very slowly working my way through, just randomly listening to things here and there. There's a few different Homestuck musicals that just exist, which I've found amazing to listen to. There's this current group. Now, from what I understand, there's been several iterations of people coming up with some sort of Broadway Stuck group, but the current newest incarnation of Broadway Stuck has a lot of really good songs that I've seen. So if anyone's looking for a quick into listening to some stuff, that's definitely a good area. I've got a list of all the people who sort of inspire me in the fandom. Now, I've already talked about Bladekind Eyewear, who the meta posts that he made are great. It's been a minute since I've reread some of them, so I don't know how the quality holds up. Did the theories come true or not? I don't recall, but I do know that they were fun reads. sprites. There's another meta poster, well, really class-specting person, Ouroborista, who has a class-specting treatise. There's a video of it on YouTube. I really like this fan theory of way of organizing it because it has my personal favorite class pairings of active knight with passive maid. From the beginning, I've always thought that maid and knight would pair well together, and I feel like I'm in the minority for that. So, like, you know, put your pitchforks down, everyone. It's not that deep, but it's what I like, and this theory has it, and so I felt very, very happy and very, very vindicated hearing it. There's also, like, so the person who made the mini strife sprites from Homestuck, Feastings, she has a lot more sprites than what appear in the mini strife sections.
They didn't use them all?
I didn't know that. And if you go to, I think the blog is Feastings-old. If you go to that blog, you can find all the old little pixel sprites, right?
Oh my gosh.
When at some point I had been like, a few years back, I was like looking for these sprites to edit, and I was like, where are they? I can't find all of them anywhere. And I was worried they were gone. But it was just that the person had made a new blog and had the old blog at a different URL. Phew! Because that was something that was very popular in the Homestuck kin side of the fandom. Granted, I think these pixels were popular outside that subsection of the fandom too. Mm-hmm. You know, making like these little pixel families, like everyone would have their main kin is who their little pixel is, and it would be it was very cute to me because you could customize them, and it's like, okay, this isn't just a random Nepeta. This is my Nepeta. You can tell because of the way I customized her outfit.
Oh my gosh. I belonged here.
It's never too late. It's never too late.
I love that music to my ears.
Some other art. I'm a bit of a fan of pixel art, no lie. Cairo Overcoat has these background tiles that are like, a bunch of them are like aspects or shipping. Dave symbol plus Jade symbol with a bunch of hearts between them, so you know it's mates per ship. And those are really cute. I'm pretty big on like, I've been like into like coding recently, CSS, HTML, and so I have a NeoCities website where I use some of these background tiles on my pages.
Really?
And they're so cute.
I'm gonna have to look at that, and I'll put the link in the description for that too, because I love your little NeoCities page.
So, okay. When I was thinking about writers, I was like, there's a lot of writers who are really, really good. Like, Unda is really, really good. Unda has, like, some of the best world building I've seen ever, even outside of fanfiction. There is one piece of Homestuck fanfiction that I would say absolutely changed the trajectory of my fandom experience, which is the Herding Cats fanfiction on AO3. The author's pseudonym was Childish Gambino, but I think I did a little bit of research, and the author's Tumblr is Chamcubia, though they've been inactive for years. Herding Cats is this fanfiction that, mind you, can be a little OOC and a little cringy, but what it does with Quadrant is a thing of beauty. Absolute beauty. And it's one of those things that, like, opened my eyes to how cool Auspisticism specifically can be. It was the first fanfic I read that didn't just treat Auspisticism as, like, a leftover afterthought of Quadrant.
Which definitely does happen. You see a lot of that.
Absolutely. That is, like, kind of the heart of the kind of things that I love most about Homestuck is, yeah, it's OOC, yeah, it's cringy, but it's so real. It's so authentic to, like, what it feels like to be a 13-year-old, right?
Yes.
It kind of brings me back, right? It gives me that nostalgia. It really is something appreciate and enjoy being able to see. So yeah, I've even seen someone on Tumblr actually got it book bound, or maybe book bound it themselves. The different books were like quadrant theme. Each one was a different quadrant, and I was like, whoa, this is cool as fuck. So it's like, you know, there's another subset of fandom, people who book bind things. Hello?
So creative. Dude, this fandom is so creative. Even now, play at the beginning of this video, the Spurb game cassette thing. What the fuck? That's fucking so cute. And then there's the ones that are like, there was the Ida bag that was going around for a while with the capture log.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
Yes.
What the fuck? That same person's working on like sweaters right now. They're coming out with like such unique merch that I don't think Homestuck ever got to capitalize on. Like they had We Love Fine for a little while, but that
They
whole
could have
thing,
done more.
dude, they don't even know. I think Homestuck especially. But yeah, so interesting. Other creators?
My friends. All my friends. I didn't get permission from anyone to like call anyone out specifically by name, so I'm not gonna do that. So I do a lot of roleplay with my friends on Discord. Getting to like draw each other's characters and write stories together is so much fun. It's so inspiring. Even now, like I've been role-playing with this one group for like, has it been a year? It's been over a year. For over a year now. It's great because like we come up with AUs of characters for characters we're playing now, but we also come up with AUs for characters we've sort of stopped playing already. And so it's like, you know, we still have life in these characters we're not actively using. It's so fun. There's this one server I'm in, has its own fan wiki that we've made. It's a private little wiki with like a bunch of pages for all the different characters that appear in and it's so much fun. Like, I think I've done the most editing on it. It's not very fancy, and it's not like the biggest, most comprehensive thing ever, but it's the kind of thing that I enjoy doing. If the Homestuck wiki, if the MSPA wiki wasn't on fandom, I would definitely be editing the MSPA wiki a lot because I think it's so fascinating. Because, you know, there you go. Another subset of the fandom.
Yeah. There's so many people for me to talk to. There's so much for me to fill in. It's so daunting, Rainy. You don't even know.
Just take it one person at a time. You've got this.
You know, that sounds like a really good idea, actually. Maybe I can make a thing up.
Yeah.
A thing out of that. Well, what about you? How are you currently contributing to the fandom?
Roleplay. I already said that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I make fan art.
Your art is
occasionally. Beautiful. Thank you. I one time made my own fan parody song.
You showed me that. Oh, that was so cool.
Thank you.
I get excited because I know all these things.
Thank you. It's in its own little tag on my blog because it's the only audio post I've ever made. One time, I tried making a plush doll of one of my troll OCs. Now, it's not finished, and it likely won't be finished for quite some time, but I attempted to make it, and I thought that was fun. I also, like I've said, I do cosplay occasionally. I don't share photos because I don't like to post my face on Tumblr, but I do cosplay in my local community sometimes.
What are the conventions like in your area? Do you get very many?
Not like huge ones, but very consistent.
So cool.
And there's always at least 2 or 3 Homestuck cosplayers at minimum.
I've been to one singular convention. It was Level Up in Vegas because I happened to be out there. I don't get to cosplay very often, so I don't really have all of the stuff, but I had a few things, you know, so I put myself in like a blue and black corset, and I did like an Eridan-esque type of thing. It was so cool. I was passing like Homestucks, and I was like, I know you! But they, you know, I wasn't really in cosplay. I was just like, oh my god.
My first cosplay at an actual convention that wasn't just like me dressed up for Halloween. My first real cosplay was a human stuck Nepeta.
Oh.
And once I found the Homestucks, they were like, oh my gosh, are you Nepeta? And I was like, yeah.
Oh.
And they were like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. It really is like finding your people.
Yeah. I can't even imagine what it was like in the peak days, you know, when you had a wide selection of people.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's already cool to just, like, run into the couple. I'm a little bit older, so I don't really engage too often even in that, because it's like, I don't even know how to act. But, like, I don't know. It's, like, to have been there during the peak, to have gone to those, like, Homestuck panels. I feel like everybody's watched the Homestuck panel videos that are out there. And, like...
I've got a few that are, like, bookmarked in my likes that I'm like, I need to go back and watch these again.
They feel so good. It brings you to that time period. It's like, what a lovely thing I was able to experience. There's so much fondness for me for it. Just because it was just such a cute thing that we all just did. And people, yeah, they thought it was cringy. Like, we keep using that word, but it's like, but it was because it was so fun. It was so good. There was so much joy in it. Like, there's nothing gayer than that. Like,
cringe is really just another word for vulnerable, for being authentic, for being yourself unabashedly without worrying what others think. That's my opinion.
I agree with that. I can agree with that. Everybody gets insecure. Of course I get insecure. But I noticed that a lot of these people who are scared to be cringe, to be themselves, it's stemming from this, like, don't want to be rejected when everything is so just, like, toxic on, like, what you can be. It takes away any room for you to be able to grow and be an individual and all of that. It just ties back into the other conversation I was having. But I mean, ultimately, this is the problem. You know, people don't feel comfortable being themselves, and they don't know what's okay and what isn't. They can't even, nobody agrees. So it's like, how can you find the good? I don't know. It's definitely something that a lot of people are struggling with, and it's very sad. So you have a troll word spreadsheet. Were you going to say that?
I was going to lean into that. I was going to be like, by the way, I do have a few other things I do. Teehee.
I love this word spreadsheet. You put so much effort into this. You went through every single game, every single page, just to make sure you had every single troll word. People wanted it. Nobody did it. You did it.
Mind you, I've definitely missed some words from the comic because I've compared my troll word spreadsheet to, like, there's a page of troll language on the MSPA wiki that I've compared it to, and I think there's some words that they have that I don't have.
Okay. That
I've just not gotten around to adding.
Homestuck's down right now.
True. Well, so I can definitely get more troll words. I have this spreadsheet. It's very cool. I have both a copy of it on Google Docs, Google Sheets, and I have a copy of it on my NeoCities page, which that version is a lot cuter, in my opinion. It definitely takes advantage of the background tiles made by Cairo Overcoat. It's definitely worth a look, even if you prefer using the Google Sheets one. I actually have, I have my NeoCities site, and then I also technically have two other Homestuck-themed websites. I have Auspisticism.com, which is where I post, the crazed ramblings of an Auspisticism fan, I suppose.
Wonderful.
And then I also have Homestuck.app, which I made for the bit. Well, I won't spoil it, but I think it's pretty funny. So I'll leave that for the viewers to explore.
That would be wonderful. You send me over the links and I'll put them in the description. I feel like we're going to have a really good list because I want all the artists you gave me too.
Absolutely. I have this all on a list, so I can just... The last way that I really contribute to fandom is my newest little trying to delve into the different subsections of the fandom. This time, YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have made a video, which I literally just finished putting the last touches on the captions before this interview. And so the video is officially done, and it's called, mind you, this is a bit of a misnomer, but it's called Everything Auspisticism. And it's going to be a bit of a rough attempt at putting together as much information about auspisticism as possible, because a lot of people talk about how there's not enough information about it. But if you read the comic, there really is. There is enough information about auspisticism. There is so much information about Ashen romance. It's insane. I didn't even include everything. It's the black conciliatory quadrant, which those are both words that have deeper meanings than the literal meanings that they have in the dictionary. But to find out more, no. They don't fuck.
They don't fuck, that's right. It's not for reproductive purposes.
Or maybe they do fuck. Maybe
Oh.
it's those are the spicy headcanons, right?
Oh, people get fiery about that one. It's so funny.
I do have thoughts about that in terms of headcanons, but that could be its own video. But yeah, so I have this video that's going to be coming out after this episode of your podcast comes out.
So we're gonna dive into it. This is what you're getting at.
Yeah, we're gonna dive into it.
Okay, that sounds very fun. I'm on the edge of my seat. It gets really ignored. It gets very kind of tossed aside in the fix because people don't really know how to write it because they kind of got your main. So, okay, this is coming from I'm a plebeian and the quadrant thing. Okay, this is my understanding of the quadrants, and you're welcome to correct me. You have your main, like, this is your boo. This is the one they say pity for. You feel bad for them. But you care about them quite a bit, and that's like you're the closest, they say, to like an actual human. Like that's your But then you have the motherfucker who they're your like sworn enemy. This is your fucking Caligulus. This is the Caligulus one, and y'all are beefing all the time. I know that this was a thing back in the day, so I saw the spreadsheet, and they were like, no, Kismesis don't want to kill each other. They care about each other. It is a rivalry. And I like that one. I like that take quite a bit. I am sure there are Kismesis out there that want to beat each other up. Power to you if it's consensual.
There are people who are, for all intents and purposes, mate sprits who beat each other up consensually.
This is true. This is blending. We're blending quadrants now. Let's not can't get confused. But yes, so we have, those are the two, and these are the ones that they bang. And that's for, like the reproduction, they like collect lots of fluid, and they take it off, and I don't know, some alien shit. But they go into detail. We know all the information about this. And he tried to make it as gross as he could, and I feel like that was a mistake. Oh gosh. So yeah, those are those two. But then there's the other two. And there is Moirel, which is the most commonly known as like your soulmate. And then there is what I understand the auspicious to be is like it's like soulmate as well. Like they're like what a soulmate means in spirituality. I took the Auspisticism, I'm losing the word slowly, as being kind of like a karmic, which is kind of like somebody who is constantly like triggering you to like teach you lessons, while your Moirel is kind of like your other, like your, like somebody who's also teaching you lessons, but like in a loving way, and like you guys are like, that's the best friends one.
Some people have also compared it to queer platonic romances or partnerships.
Yes. And that's, I think all of that is lovely. All of that sounds very gay.
I think that's a solid understanding of the quadrants. Even beyond my video, there's still more about auspisticism, because I don't even touch on how auspisticism is presented in HiveSwap and HiveSwap FriendSim. I could have gone a lot deeper into some of the stuff I talk about, but if I spent all day working on it,
you'd have a constructed argument for me.
If I just spent forever working on this video, forever thinking about auspisticism, which I could. Don't get me wrong, I could.
Nodding.
It would never see the light of day if I just spent forever perfecting it.
That's fair. And it's just such a niche part of the Homestuck as a whole. It really captured you. And I think that's very wonderful.
Between my spreadsheets and Auspisticism, that's sort of my reputation with my friend group. Is I'm the Ashram spreadsheet guy.